So, because of a technical issue with Fox, I can't do this trailer breakdown the way I usually do, and I have to use stills only. My apologies. However, I still wanted to do this trailer breakdown, not only because Avatar 2 is a big frickin' movie, and those are a little further and farther in between these days, unfortunately. Still not recovered from the pandemic. But I found so much stuff to discuss. Wow, some of you were like, when Cameron's writing, directing, Grace, he is unstoppable. You should still not bet against him. And I have to say, having broken this trailer down, I am impressed. There's some really interesting things, particularly thematically, for us to discuss. Wow. Although, first off, he's being a little bit of, it's a little bit like, whoa, he's copying some stuff that might make some people a little bit upset. But it's also hilarious because he's been so negative about it, and yet here he is. That's right, James Cameron might complain about superhero movies, but he's been paying attention because it looks like Sigourney Weaver's Kiri has superpowers. I know, right? Hypocritical? But he's like, I don't care. My movie made so much money. All right, so also, I think what's going to annoy some people is that, you know how you say Avatar and people are like, which Avatar? James Cameron's Blue People or the incredible animated series? What's soon to become many other things. Well, it looks like James Cameron's Avatar is now borrowing, let's say, from the other Avatar. It's kind of it's like brilliant trolling. It's a little bit like, I guess, what he did with the font for Avatar with that really hilarious Ryan Gosling SNL sketch. All right, so what's going on here? As you might recall, Dr. Grace Augustine died at the end of the first movie. The Na'vi, unable to transfer her back to her avatar, despite their best efforts at the Tree of Souls. But right before she died, she did tell Jake that she was with Awa, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, the goddess of the Na'vi, who is basically the mother nature of Pandora, but instead of taking a back seat, she actively interacts with the inhabitants of Pandora through the flora, fauna, etc. So, based on this trailer, when you really look at it, you can see that Jake and Neytiri's they've adopted a couple of kids, and one of them is Kiri. And she says she can feel her, and I believe she's talking about this Mother Nature. And I think that she is Dr. Augustine reincarnated. And maybe that's why they made her the adopted daughter. Maybe they were like, we didn't want it to come actually from Jake and Neytiri. Maybe, who knows, maybe she was found mysteriously. Maybe she just popped out of Pandora. That could be cool, right? That's very interesting to me. So I think she's reincarnated, which is why they used Sigourney Weaver again. But this time she has a direct connection to Awa. And when you think of that, so many shots in the trailer make sense. And not only to Awa, but to Pandora, and is therefore able to control Pandora just as Awa can. There's even a shot in the trailer where you can see her using her powers. Oh, James Cameron's like, all right, fine, I'll have superpowers too, whatever. And I gotta tell you, I'm pretty excited to see what James Cameron can do with superpowers. And I think this is also a very interesting idea to explore thematically, because what is reincarnation but moving your spirit to another vessel, just like the humans have done with the avatars? Oh, I like it, and it gets even better. So on that note, there is a very cool shot of Stephen Lang, who is actually not his character from the first film. He is a recombinant. I wish he was a recombatant, which would have a more military feel to it. But that's apparently a Na'vi avatar with the memories of a soldier. It's not a direct transfer. So it's not technically the character from the first film. It's more like an echo of him. So in some ways, another type of reincarnation, like Dr. Augustine. Maybe they'll explore that. But what's so cool here is that he's holding and then crushing a human skull, getting his Macbeth on. And that's an intentional choice, because so much of what I think this scene might be about is what the scene in Macbeth is about. Oh, Cameron, as we said, don't bet against Cameron. And if he can throw a little Shakespeare in there, I think it'll help his Oscar or awards campaign, because, of course, he's going up against Black Panther. But he crushes the human skull. Maybe it's the Colonel's skull directly. And this new recombinant is wrestling with the memories inside of him. And he's like, you're not the boss of me, memories of this human soldier. I am. And he shows it by crushing the skull. Or maybe he's saying all of humanity has seen its day. And these new hybrids in Na'vi bodies are the way to go. Oh, I think it's really, as I said, really interesting stuff, actually. Potentially more interesting than the first movie. Although some of you will be like, you mean just as interesting, Grace? Some of you, it's funny, even to this day, the first movie came out in 2009. Even to this day, we're still deeply divided about how we feel about this film. But James Cameron's like, I don't care, as long as you see it and talk about it. Now, on that note, because it's going up against Black Panther, which I told you has similarities. Now, the Na'vi underwater scenes here, I think, are flawless. While in Black Panther 2, when we go to Talocan, well, let's just say without spoilers, I don't believe for a second that any of those people could open their mouths and talk underwater. And it's interesting to contrast the different methods. Aquaman shot dry for wet, which I thought was incredibly effective. Avatar 2, as we all know, uses motion captures in a ball pit. And it looks like Ryan Coogler, I mean, we'll see, but based on when I saw the movie, I thought that Ryan Coogler put his actors in water tanks. And I think that was the least effective of the three things to do. Now, but I guess at least it was different. All right, as you might recall, so back to Pandora. As you might recall, a big part of the appeal of the first movie was going to Pandora. In fact, some people wish they could really go to there. And Disney said, now you can, because they built it. And here, I think the colors and the brightness are very appealing and make you think that maybe you should see this movie in 3D. You should go back to 3D. Remember, for a while, we all loved 3D. I kind of liked it. And then I didn't think they were using it enough because Hollywood is trying to hedge its bets. They were like, you don't have to see this movie in 3D. And then I was like, well, then I guess I won't. And also, it would mute the colors a lot, having to put those glasses on. So maybe that's one of the reasons this movie, for the most part, is so bright. But then, so we kind of at least I fell out of love with 3D. Talk about a complicated relationship with your past. I'm holding my 3D glasses in my hand, like Stephen Lang's character is holding that skull. And speaking of visuals, this new trailer introduces the other side of James Cameron's color palette, steel and fire. Dude loves a good raging flame. And we even have some Terminator alien action here with an endoskeleton helping another soldier run into battle alongside Lang. I don't know how his little arms wouldn't all break off and everything. Whatever, science fiction. All right, so speaking of Alien, considering Sigourney Weaver's history with James Cameron, starring in some of his biggest movies, Kate Winslet's here too. Where are you, DiCaprio? He's like, I ain't coming over there. All right. And to some way, Sam Worthington is like a cheaper Leonardo DiCaprio. He just didn't work out, right? But anyway, I think it's cool that Sigourney Weaver is the one that James Cameron does superpowers with first and makes her like basically a goddess. And also breaks more ground, maybe, we'll see how convincing it is, but using technology to allow an older actor to play a teenager. I don't think the visuals are convincing, but I don't think, her voice just sounds like Sigourney Weaver, like up an octave. I'm like, that's Sigourney Weaver. Why is she talking funny? All right, you not only have the Banshees back, but you also have these new flying dolphins. And at first, I just thought they were cool. But now, seeing them again in this trailer, I realized why we have them. That is so that they can use the same technology for flights of passage, yet stick a new movie in there. Just like Soarin' was updated visually to create a new experience, yet still use the same technology in ride vehicles. Hey, if it's a popular ride, just find a new way to reskin it, which is something that Disney loves to do. So now, instead of riding a Banshee, you'll fly whatever these flying dolphins are called. And maybe you'll even get to go underwater. They'll spray you with a bunch of water. I mean, how much water would that take to make you feel like you're underwater? They do spray you right now with a little mist. At least they used to. I haven't been to Disney since the pandemic, but it's a great ride. It's the best attraction I've ever been on. Although I have not been on Rise of the Resistance. Pandemic. All right, so anyway, maybe we'll go underwater to visit the other tribe, the Metkayina. Now, just the other day, James Cameron was saying he was upset that all Marvel and DC characters act like college students. Yet here he is. Instead of just focusing on the way Jake and Neytiri's relationship has matured and evolved through marriage, he doesn't trust it, and he brings another younger star-crossed romance into the picture, with Jake and Neytiri's son and the daughter of the Metkayina leader, the Metkayina's leader. So, it's kind of similar to the first movie, too. A lot of similarities to the first movie, although seeing these new layers, I think, does make it seem more interesting. I feel more tales connecting, right? PG-13 love scenes. That's what James Cameron basically came up with, and is really brilliant. By the way, what happened to their also adopted human child? How come he didn't rate the new trailer at all? He's like, I'm the only human child of the stars of the movie. Why am I don't think he's on the poster either. We'll talk about that poster in a moment. But anyway, When I was reacting to the trailer, I said maybe you have to like camping to appreciate Avatar. And jokes aside, the more I think about it, the more I feel that might actually be true. Avatar is very much about getting back to basics, not just in terms of nature and stepping away from technology, but also social interactions and expectations. And perhaps that's James Cameron's commentary on why avatars are so appealing to humans in this movie to escape the future that humanity has made for itself here, a kind of restart on Pandora. Like this little baby. That's a very cute shot. Adorable! All right, favorite shots. They have some beautiful shots in this trailer, which is weird compared to the hideous poster that they released. Floating Head City, only these aren't any recognizable movie stars, and the only actual star here is Zoe Saldana anyway. Why don't you sell Pandora for Pete's sake? Although the first movie, while the teaser poster was iconic and they replicated that with Sigourney Weaver's character for this new movie, Avatar 1 never had a good poster either, interestingly enough. So maybe James Cameron's like, don't jinx me, I need another really ugly poster. But I feel overall in this film, James Cameron is getting his Frazetta on in some of these shots. Like this one with the head turned and the hair in the wind, that's stunning. That even looks like the cover of some fan. Well, it's all inspired by Frazetta's work, but you know, like Dinotopia even, that kind of stuff. In this shot, I like the depth of field in the clearing with Jake teaching his son how to fish. This moonlight date night for Jake and Neytiri is a little show you the world, right? James Cameron, he loves to lift from or borrow from other stuff. But with the add-on of Pandora lighting up at night, so it's going to be really pretty. And I'm sure very nice also again in 3D. Like these little fishies. These things make me feel like, okay, let's do this right. This human ship opening up is super cool, and it looks like a toy, doesn't it? One of those toys that doubles as its own storage container for all its parts. And this space whale attack is cool, but amazingly, right out of Black Panther 2. Although, to James Cameron's credit, I have to say, the scale is done better here. It looks better here. This silhouette with the fire is incredible. Frazetta, but also Cameron. That's a very cool shot. And I like this shot. Well, I have mixed feelings about this final shot of Jake and Neytiri at the end. It's cool with the flames behind them, and I like that you can definitely tell that it comes from the second movie. You know, the movies in many ways are very similar, so it's hard to grab a poster frame where you're like, oh, that's clearly from the new movie. So you need stuff with water, or you need stuff with the fire now. But it doesn't feel like Avatar either. You know, it's missing that quality that I think defines Avatar. But maybe that's the point. Because, you know, he's already making 3. 3's definitely coming out. Maybe that's where Avatar 2 ends. That humanity has ruined everything. Once again! So that could be interesting. That could be very interesting. They have some shots here that remind me a little bit of Napalm, too. You know, like stuff like from Apocalypse Now. All right, so what do you think of Avatar 2's full trailer now that we've gone over it? I feel a lot better about it, and I'm curious to see what Cameron's done. Share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.